Hello everyone, my name is Mohammed. I'm a Syrian citizen living in the UK. I decided to do this video after the chemical attacks in Syria in the last few days, after seeing actually how the media reacted and how many people actually doesn't know what's going on there. I've heard so many hurtful phrases and sentences and responses on the internet that I decided I really need to do this video here. So let me start with the beginning. What happened in Syria in the last few days? So the opposition were trying to progress toward the town nearby Khan Sheikhoun where the attack has happened. So that town actually was going to fall in the hand of the opposition. So Assad regime used sarin gas and bombed that area. Now, fortunately enough, there was some antidotes in some of the hospitals, so the number of the people who died was only in the hundreds rather than in the thousands as happened in 2013. So, well, now when you look at the media, actually, you just find so many theories there and so many conspiracy theories that you just don't believe it. I mean, Syrians are just so shocked to hear all those conspiracies. So one of them, the famous one, it's not Assad who used it, it's the opposition. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, the only person who controls the air in Syria is Russia and Assad. And occasionally US and UK participate in some attacks up north in where ISIS are. Now, first of all, there is no ISIS in this area in Khan Sheikhoun. There is no jihadist group in there. It's just the Free Syrian Army who is there. So they don't have chemical weapons. It has been proven times and times again that they don't have chemical weapons. This is not the first attack that Assad has launched, chemical attack, I mean. So in 2013, Assad launched a big chemical attack using sarin gas, and he was forced then to give up his chemical weapons. Now, the way he was forced up to give his chemical weapon was to actually whatever he declared, and that got destroyed. Now, as you can imagine, if he doesn't declare something, it's still there. Afterwards, Assad stopped using sarin gas, that's after 2013, and he started using chlorine gas. Now, there is a catch here. Chlorine is a dual purpose gas, so it can be used for industrial as well as in chemical weapons. So it's not classified as a chemical weapon by itself. It's not a banned substance. So Assad was allowed to keep his chlorine gas stock, and he used them liberally more than 15 times or up to 20 times, I think. I lost count actually of how many attacks by chlorine gas. And that was like probably most people didn't hear about those attacks because they were in small villages. As long as the death toll in Syria nowadays is less than 50, nobody bothered to report it. So nowadays, after Assad felt more comfortable, he knew that Trump is not bothered that much about him, that Trump is actually potentially a friend of Russia. So Assad felt more comfortable and decided to use sarin gas again. Now, to his surprise, the reaction of the West was not as he expected. However, still not that, severe. All what he got lost now is, bombarded one military airport. So what? He's not actually feeling it's a big deal anyway. And I don't think anything else will come out of it. So that's essentially what happened in there. And Assad actually has been filmed so many times. There was so many airplanes bombing, using napalm, using chlorine. It has been filmed so many times. And many of the, military experts in the UK and the US has confirmed times and times again, it's Assad who is using the chemical weapons. Ask any Syrian and they will tell you it's Assad who is using the chemical weapons. The second argument that I hear a lot is that, why would Assad need to use it? He is winning on the ground anyway. Well, Assad is not winning on the ground. Yes, he is not losing as before. I mean, before the Russian intervention, Assad was almost going to lose his grip on power completely. But then he got bolstered by, factions from outside, including the Russian now intervention, the last, between those interventions. And this is keeping him in power. But he is not winning on the ground. Even the areas he is controlling, he is not completely in real control. He doesn't have the support on the ground there from people. So he's not really winning, and he needs those attacks to put the horror in the heart of the people. And that's what Assad really wants. He really wants to stop people, wanting to ask for freedom, to rebel against him. He wants to get that grip and fear inside them to actually get oppressed and sit silently, and he can rule again. The third ridiculous argument that I hear on the net a lot, that, okay, so what should we do? If we get rid of Assad, ISIS will take over in Syria, and that's even worse for us. Now, that's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. People who say this don't know what is going on in Syria. Syria has never been a place of a grip for ISIS. ISIS only went into Syria after the political vacuum that was created due to Assad oppression of the people there. There was a lot of, conflicts going on there. The north was not protected very well. The opposition has very weak force. They don't have airplanes. So ISIS came in and took over in the north. Now, the Free Syrian Army still fight ISIS. Actually, to be honest, more than what Assad does. Assad never really fight ISIS unless there is some, political gain for him to say that. But actually, most of the time, the people who are fighting ISIS and stopping it from moving forward is the Free Syrian Army. And if they had an aerial cover, and they asked for that so many times, the trouble is they don't have aerial cover, and they've been attacked from the air all the time by Assad. So every time the Free Syrian Army attack ISIS, they got attacked by Assad, and from airplanes and from the south, with the borders with Assad. So actually, if Assad goes, the Free Syrian Army will take control, and Syrians don't want ISIS there. In fact, the only way to get rid of ISIS is not by bombing there from the air as we do now. That's ridiculous. You'll never get rid of terrorist organization by bombing them from the air. And you're not going to get rid of them by having Assad in power. Remember, even before this uprising started, Iraq was accusing Syria, and the UN actually documented that Syria was allowing jihadists to go into Iraq to cause trouble to the Americans in there. So, Syria actually does harbor and help terrorists. That's in Assad, I mean. Even actually the Grand Mufti of the regime, Mufti Hassoun, and you can find this on YouTube, just Google this or look at it on YouTube. Grand Mufti Hassoun has actually threatened Europe in 2013 or 12 that actually that Assad can send them terrorists who are willing to go and do terrorist attacks, suicide bombing inside Europe if they continue to challenge Assad. So we're not going to get rid of ISIS by supporting Assad. We are not going to get rid of ISIS by bombing them from the air. The only way to get rid of ISIS is by the help of the Syrian people on the ground to help you. So you need that local knowledge. You need that local, opposition to ISIS, which is there. The Syrian people want to get rid of ISIS. However, what we are doing now is actually bolstering ISIS position. Imagine if you are a father of one of those children who died by these chemical attacks, and you hear somebody in the West here saying, oh, you know what? Actually, it doesn't matter. Let's keep Assad in there because we don't want ISIS to be there. Because I don't care about those people. I only care that ISIS doesn't exist there. What you are putting yourself, for that father with the enemy. You are saying that I'm the friend of Assad who is killing your son and I don't care about you. This is what ISIS wants. This is the best recruitment video for ISIS. So actually, if we want to get rid of ISIS, we should support Syrian people who are asking for a democratic change, for a democratic government to rule them in Syria. And that's the only way for us to actually get rid of ISIS and do the noble thing, which is to get rid of this dictator who is killing his people every day there. Another ridiculous argument that I hear is this is like Iraq war. We don't want to interfere in Syria. We don't want another Iraq. Well, first of all, let me remind you, Iraq war was 2 wars. The first one was when Iraq invaded Kuwait, and everybody agrees that we should have helped Kuwait and get rid of Saddam Hussein from Kuwait there. The second war, which is a controversial one, where Iraq essentially was not doing anything, was not threatening any of its neighbors. Yes, it has a dictatorship, but people in Iraq were not actually, at that time, uprising against the regime. But we decided that we need to go there and get rid of those chemical or those weapons of mass destructions which were not there. So that's different to what's going on in Syria. If you want to think what's going on in Syria now, think of Kosovo. Now in Kosovo, there were massacres committed every day in there. And if there was any criticism for our intervention there, that it came too late. And we allowed so many people to die before we intervened in there. And the same story in Syria now. You might not hear it. Yes, this is a chemical weapon attack, and you probably heard about another attack in 2013. However, every day, more than, well, on average, actually, around 100 people die. If not by chemical weapons, it's by barrel bombs. It's kind of barrels filled with explosive and shrapnels that the Assad regime, just throw from the helicopters and jet fighters randomly on civilians, and that inflicts a lot of casualties. It's very primitive form of cluster bomb, essentially, thrown on civilian areas. Another reason for death in Syria is the specific targeting of Russian airplanes of hospitals. In the last few months, they have targeted more than 25 hospitals in Syria, especially in the area of Aleppo. They actually, before the fall of the eastern Aleppo, they have targeted every single hospital in there, to the extent that the MSF, the Doctors Without Borders, decided to stop sharing the location of their hospitals in Syria with the UN, because they realized that the Russia knows about it and they start to target it intentionally. So this is the main cause of death in Syria. And we should not allow 100 people to die for the last 6 years. There are 7 million Syrian refugees outside Syria. Lebanon has doubled in size, in the population size, because of the Syrian refugees. Turkey holds a few million people, the same with Jordan. It's affecting the region around there. It's affecting us in Europe. As you know, so many refugees coming to Europe. In fact, big part of the Project Fear of the Brexit group was that Islamists are coming, or Muslims are coming, refugees coming from Middle East, and won't be able to stop them. And that's why we should leave Europe. It's affecting us here. And that's apart from even the basic human thing, that when our people being massacred every day, being tortured, being jailed, being thrown with barrel bombs. That's just the main basic things to actually stop that from happening. So this is not Iraq war. It's like Kosovo. And I don't think anybody would argue that intervention in Kosovo was not the right thing to do. So this is few of the points that I've heard on the internet and I decided to tackle. If you think there are more points which you would like me to discuss, please let me know and I will upload this in the next video. Thank you very much for listening.